I call to order this meeting of Stillwater Area Public Schools, District 834 School Board for Tuesday, October 5th, 2021. Joan, can you please take the roll?
Director Hockert? Here. Director Porbeni? Director Riley?
Here.
Director Sherman?
Here.
Chair Petrie?
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda? Director Sherman, is there a second?
Second.
Director Hockert, all those in favor of approving the agenda, please raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, we are here for the purpose of doing interviews for a vacancy that we have on the school board. We have 3 candidates who have applied, and so we will be asking the same questions of each candidate. As we did the last time, the board members will go around in order and ask a question, and we'll keep going until we are done with that candidate, and then we will call the next one forward. So, we are going to begin. Our first candidate is Vivian Vodova, and she is going to be joining us remotely because she is not in the state right now. And we are hoping that this connection is going to work. Just a note that we're having trouble with getting a two-way connection here, and so we're hoping that the way this is going to work is that Vivian is going to read the question herself and then answer it.
Okay, hopefully you can hear me. Please, I'll just tap here and see.
Hey, John. No, it's okay. We can hear her, she can't hear us. No, not at all. Can we try with the phone ring? Yeah. Okay, that's fine. No problem. Okay, thanks. Bye. Was she not able to?
Can you hear me? Could somebody please put in the chat? Oh, good. Okay. All right. So let's see if I can remember these questions. Let's see. The first one is, why do I want to do this? So I care about public education. I went to a public elementary school, junior high, and high school, and it served me very well, and I had amazing teachers. And I'm not stuck on improving just one school or just one part of the district. I've had kids, my kids have graduated. I had a kid who was special ed and also a kid who was not special ed. They went to Lake Elmo, Oakland, and Stillwater High School. And I'm not stuck on improving just one school or one part of the district. I want to see improvements overall for all kids and parents. I am a quality engineer, and what that means is I have heard many angry customers over the years, and I am very experienced in staying calm when people around me are angry and helping let them know that I am hearing them. And I'm also pretty analytical in my decision making. And then, let's see, I think you wanted to know, oh, I was supposed to tell you, I'm sorry, that was the last question. Okay, you wanted to know about me. So I kind of told you about me. I have 2 kids. They just graduated. One was in special ed. He is now at the University of Minnesota and double majoring in chemistry and chemical engineering. And I have another kid who was also in the system, and he now is at Madison. He's a freshman. Okay, the 3 things I think we needed to work on, if I had to pick only 3, were 3rd grade reading, busing, short and long term, and equity in the district. I think the levy is really important to pass, but I figure by the time I'm on the board, the levy might be passed already. So that's, I guess, another thing. I have relatives in the district, and let's see, what is this? Various program. Oh, how would I increase loyalty of relatives? Sorry, I don't have the questions in front of me. I just have some scribbled notes because I can't see the questions on my phone very well. How would I get people who are retired or don't have kids in the district to be interested? I think you have to key on the fact that they have relatives and children and nieces and nephews that are in the district that they care about. I think you also have to talk about the various programs that they were involved in and they have loyalty to or interest in. And also emphasize, property values dependent on the school district, and keeping a vibrant community is dependent on the school district. What do I think needs to be worked on or get kids involved in the community? I think they need better critical thinking skills, and I think it would be good to have kids do more community type projects. What do I do about supporting positions? What about supporting positions I disagree with? How do I handle it and the result? I'm a pretty flexible thinker. So usually if somebody has a reason that they are determined on a certain position and there's enough people who are the majority in that position, I generally can find positives in whichever solution is presented. And I generally can find ways to work on that solution. And in my normal professional life, I do that all the time. You work in a group and you don't always agree with everything, but then you find ways to make things work and ways that might make things work better if it's something that maybe isn't fleshed out all the way, but and you might have disagreed with in the beginning, but you can usually find a way to make it better and make things work. What are the attributes I have that would make me a good board member? I am flexible, I'm creative, I'm willing to listen, and I'm willing to change my mind. What needs improvement in the district? Well, I guess third grade reading, busing, which is obvious and just a mess right now, and equity. But then besides that, I think we really need to improve our special ed and IEP process. And there's one thing that struck me is one of my kids' IEPs was, he was entering high school. They wanted him to take the skills class. They insisted that he take it. And what he really needed was just 10 minutes twice a week of someone to go over like what his priorities were and make sure he was handing in his assignments. And when I suggested that, the psychologist who was at the meeting said that, well, if we had that, there'd be 200 parents who want that for their kids. And even though that to her as part of special ed is the reason why we shouldn't have something because 200 people would want it, I kind of see it the opposite way. If you know that 200 people, if this would help 200 kids and 200 sets of parents, I think that's a reason to figure out how to do something, not the other way around. And I guess in closing, I care about public education a great deal. If I hadn't had a great public education, I wouldn't be where I am now. And I'm not stuck on just one section of the district. I want the whole district to improve. And I'm experienced in working with groups of angry people and people who don't necessarily all agree. So those are, I guess, hopefully the answers to all the questions, since I don't have the questions in front of me. So please let me know if there's anything else.
Okay, thank you, Vivian. I know she can't hear us, but Joan, I think, is probably communicating with her. So please thank Vivian for making herself available. I know it's probably difficult for her being out of the state, but I'm glad that worked out. All right, the next person on our list is David Taylor. Would you like to come up and sit at a microphone here? So welcome. Thank you for coming in today. We appreciate it. Thank you for applying. We are going to ask the questions that, I know that you've seen the questions when you just came, you were able to see the questions. So we're going to just go around the circle here, board members, and we'll each ask you a question until we're finished, so.
Sounds good.
Okay, and I can start. So the first question is, please tell us about yourself and your background and why you have applied for the vacancy on the school board.
Sure. Thank you for having me here and accepting, I guess, my application and making the time for this. My name's Dave Taylor. I'm a resident here in Stillwater. We've lived here just shy of about 10 years. We have one son who's now back in the school district. He had gone to this school here, Oak Park Elementary, and then we moved him to a public charter school. He's also a special needs child, like the earlier parent. And for one reason or another, and it really had anything to do with the Stillwater School District, it was a better fit for him personally. And we've decided that it's now a better fit here, and so we've brought him back to a more local school district. And so that's how I'm connected to, I guess, the school district, or in terms of a personal connection. Myself, personally and professionally, like I said, we've lived here about 10 years. I'm originally from Minnesota. I'm a practicing attorney here in Minneapolis. I practice in Minneapolis, and been doing that for about 25 years. Had been a federal prosecutor in an earlier part in my life, in terms of prior public service. In terms of connection to public education, I'm a public education kid. Grew up here in Minnesota, went to school just over the border, originally at UW Stout and then Eau Claire and all of that kind of stuff. So I certainly see the value of public education. I think it's done me well. I think it is sort of that leveling of the playing field for most of us that can't have or don't have access to private education. So that's why I think it's important to be here. The reason I applied, I learned about it late in the process, to tell you the truth. And I can't say that I'll be the most qualified applicant here, to tell you the truth, but I did want to, and I have been looking for more of an opportunity to become more active in the local community. I do some volunteer work professionally through the foster care system in the Minnesota State, and I taught as a pro bono professor, but there wasn't a local connection, and so that was part of the motivation as well. So that's about all I got to say about the first one.
Thank you.
Okay, what do you believe are the 3 biggest issues the district faces today?
I'd have to say that I don't know that they're that much different than any other governmental body, or at least local governmental body, maybe not even local governmental body, but near as I can tell, looking from the outside, and that the board faces, and the district by extension, has the issue of communicating in an environment where people are inherently untrusting or quick to distrust, I guess, is probably a better way of saying that. It's probably not grammatically correct, but is what it is. And I think that that's a challenge, and I think that the board and our district in particular has some issues in entering into that environment and trying to communicate as an honest broker, because there have been some missteps in the past. And I don't know if, I really don't think it's anybody individually here, but everybody gets sort of lumped into the historical pattern of the school board. And I know that there's, within our community, you know, you hear gripes about this, that, and the other thing. Well, what did they do with this money? What did they do with that? What were this? And whether or not it was always straight communication, honest communication with the public in general. And now you enter this environment where people are quick to distrust. That, I think, is the overriding issue, but I think that's a huge issue for any board like this. Fiscally, I think that's a challenge that we've got here in Stillwater, but probably everywhere. As costs rise, as people, as priorities change and as the world changes, the ability to keep up with the costs probably becomes more and more difficult. That's, you know, ergo the levy that you guys have approved. So those would be the 2 biggest challenges. I think that, and it may be, there are smaller issues like the earlier candidate had raised. The busing issue is a huge problem right now. Maybe more of an acute problem that can be solved in the near term and smoothed out, and then there's the litigation with the bus station. And some of those things are more acute problems that are probably going to be resolved in the near term. But as far as overall issues that this board would always have to deal with, whether it's all you people sitting there or 5 or 6 other different people, those are the ones, communication and honesty and fiscal responsibility, right?
Okay, Annie, I think you have the next question.
Thank you. Hi, David.
Hi.
Approximately 70% of the residents living within District 834 boundaries do not have children in Stillwater Area Public Schools. What are some of the ways you feel the district could engage them?
Well, you know, I guess I've had the benefit of listening to the first applicant. I would say that her point of explaining to them that you may not have a kid in this school, but you have people that you care about that are in this school, whether they are relatives, friends, whatever the case may be. I can speak for the people that are in my immediate community. Most of them do not have kids in the school district. We live in sort of the older part of Stillwater, and there's many people that don't. But I can tell you that those people really value Stillwater. Many of them went through this school district. Some of these older buildings, they can tell you that's where they went to school. And I think when given reasonable propositions that they can honestly rely on, I think that people in this community value this public school system. And I don't think it's that much different if you got a kid here or if you don't. There's another way to communicate with the parent who has the kid. But the general way of communicating the value of what this community is, and this community is much less without a good school system. I think everybody would agree. So I think a straightforward communication, sort of hearkening again on the earlier applicants, reminding them of the values that they have, what they value in terms of the public school system.
Welcome tonight, Mr. Taylor. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
The fourth question is, what is your vision for education in Stillwater Area Public Schools?
Well, I'll tell you, Tina, that sounds more high-minded than what's written down here on this list. It says, what should Stillwater schools do better to prepare students to be citizens? I think I might have a better idea on that one. I don't know if I have.
Mine is different, yes.
All right, fair enough. I don't want to claim that I have some grandiose vision in terms of what public education should be here, but I do have some ideas in terms of what I think public education could do to prepare kids to be better citizens, more mobile, more agile, in terms of what we all know. I bet everybody here would agree that if you were a high school student and you learned how to handle a credit card in a responsible fashion, a debit card, and that was something that you were graded on, that you understood how some of that day-to-day banking works, personal banking, that's a valuable skill that every kid's gonna need, right? I think that in a larger sense, and I don't know if it's stressed as much at Stillwater as it is in other places, but certainly there is value in not taking the traditional 4-year college route, right? Going to college. Not every kid needs to go to college. There are a lot of ways to have a very fine life, to be a very productive citizen, whether it's in ways through the trades or in other ways that don't require you to incur the student loan debt that many kids get, and they come out with a degree that really doesn't do much for them, certainly does less for them than if they had applied those 4 years and learned a trade that they can shop from state to state to state, stuff like that. Some more practical education on that front, I think would be valuable. It wasn't there when I was in school so much. We had shop and we had English basically, and those were the two. So.
Thank you.
All right, on to number 5. Tell me about a time when you had to support a decision you disagreed with. How did you handle it, and what was the result?
Well, so if you ask people that know me personally, maybe they'd say that I don't handle these great. I don't know. I have to deal with decisions that go against me often. Whether people have sort of a misnomer in terms of what they think lawyers do. They oftentimes think that they're doing things of their own volition, they're making their own decisions, and they're doing things like that. That's really not the case. Oftentimes you're doing things that people are, well, you're doing whatever your client tells you to do. And oftentimes those are decisions made against what you would advise or what you would have rather had them do. Certainly judges do it all the time, and juries would do the same. And so all of those are hard professional decisions where they come against you, and you just have to move on. You grin it and bear, and you grin and bear it, and move on. I think, as the earlier candidate said, you know, she was talking about how she looks to see the positives in the decisions that were made. And I think, I'll tell you, that's something I strive to do. I probably don't do it as well as I should, but that is something that I do strive to do. And that is generally the best way to move forward, I have found, both professionally and personally. There's always a silver lining, whatever the decision is. And if you can find that and move forward, it's going to be a better day.
Okay, what attributes are essential for a successful school board director?
I would think that the ability to be able to think outside of your own personal experience is a fairly important thing in your guys' shoes, right? We all come to this room or this table or whatever with a certain level of experience, a certain life experience, and that is going to color any decision or any way in which you're going to handle yourself. But as a, not to overstate it, but as somebody that is making decisions on behalf of the public, I think you have to separate yourself from that as well as you can. Allow it to help color the decision, but not direct the decision. So that sort of flexibility, that ability to be able to separate yourself is, I think, going to be a key, well, it would be a skill that you'd need to be successful here. I think, as the earlier candidate said, flexibility is obviously it's a prime skill in any endeavor, but it would be here too. I suspect you guys are finding yourselves having to make decisions that you really don't have that much control over. Or you've got 4 bad choices and you have to make those decisions. And so finding the silver lining in that kind of operation would probably be, so maybe having sort of an optimistic tone would be a good inherent quality as well.
Okay, 2 more questions to go. What is really great about Stillwater Area Public Schools, and what are the areas that need improvement?
Well, you know, I don't want to overstate my familiarity. Again, my son, we had 2 adult daughters that didn't go to school here. They went to school elsewhere, and we moved into Stillwater 10 years ago. So we have 1 kid that has been here and this school here was fantastic. We lived just down the street, and he walked to school, and it was Mayberry. It was fantastic. And we got into junior high, and because of my son and how unique he is and his unique needs, the middle school didn't work that well for him, and I think that was just a product of its size, as opposed to any sort of defect, internal or otherwise. And so I don't really have anything bad to say about it. What I can say is that we brought him back to Stillwater District, and he's in high school now, and he's part of the special needs program, and it's been fantastic. It's been really great, and we're pretty new to it, and we're going to be attending, we're very familiar with IEP processes. Our oldest daughter is also a special needs kid, and so we're familiar with the IEP process, and we're going to start that in the next coming weeks here, but we've really been pleased with the level of engagement, how you can get responses to questions. And in that sense, I would say that the special ed department has been a pleasant surprise, because we didn't know exactly what to expect. Reason we wanted to bring him home was the transition program, which is something that I'm interested in, is something he's going to be going into next year in this building, next year or the following. And we knew we wanted to make sure he was here for that. So we've had nothing but positive accolades for the district, and I don't have anything, not that there aren't probably glaring deficiencies. I'm just not educated enough to be able to articulate them.
Okay. I think I have the final question for you. Please provide a closing statement why you should be appointed to the vacant seat on the school board of Stillwater Area Public Schools.
Well, you know, Annie, I'm gonna say that I don't know that I should. I'm gonna tell you that I'm willing to be an engaged community member. I think that this is an important position. I think I have some skills that I've got through either just natural skill or professional training that lend themselves to working environments like this and helping people think through things critically and at times communicating in ways that is helpful, maybe. Beyond that, I would admit to each of you, you all probably have more experience with the Stillwater School District than I do. Probably more experience with public education than I do. I went through public education, but then from there I went in the Army. And so I don't claim to have any intuitive knowledge in that regard. I can tell you that if you ask me to be part of the board, I'll be here. I do have a job, but, you know, subject to that, I will be here. And that's what I would say about my closing statement.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you so much for coming in. We really appreciate it.
Can I keep this?
I don't see why not.
All right, souvenir. Thank you so much.
Yep. You can frame it if you like. Okay, the next person that we are going to be speaking with is Kelly Bowen. Welcome, Kelly.
Thank you.
Tina is going to have the first question for you.
Okay.
Hi, thank you for coming this evening. First question is, please tell us about yourself and your background and why you have applied for the vacancy of the school board.
All right. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me and accepting my application. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Kelly Bowen, and a little bit about my background. I'm a parent in the district. I've lived in the Stillwater Area School District for all of my adult life, almost 18 years. And currently I have 2 kids enrolled at Lake Elmo in the Spanish immersion program, which we absolutely love. Next year I'll have my last little one joining them at Lake Elmo in the amazing preschool program. And work-wise, I have experience as a business owner, and I also have been with a company in the community for many years. I educate for them, and I'm also on their advisory board as well. Why I have applied for the vacant seat is because I know that I can fill the need of this position. First and foremost, I love this district. I believe in this district. I'm a huge believer in public education. I graduated from a public school, and I was very involved in as many programs and extracurriculars as I could possibly be in. And then I was even elected as the first student board member on our school board, so that was kind of a cool experience. We wanted to have a student representative to be able to bring a voice from the student perspective into the board. And then specifically within the Stillwater School District, there's a lot of opportunity, which is one of the reasons that my husband and I chose to live here, and even before I met him, why I chose the Stillwater School District. I love that there's something for everyone here, an area for all students to thrive, and as a member of the board, I would govern by policy and continue our great legacy. Public education is just really important at all levels, from national all the way down, especially in our community. And so I strongly believe in properly funding public education, and I would work to make sure that happens.
Thank you.
Hello, Kelly.
Hi.
Number 2, what do you believe are the 3 biggest issues the district faces today?
So today, I think, number 1 big issue that you're seeing everywhere is the levy, for sure. Number 2, I think our literacy and academics, and just working to keep our standards really high and even continue to raise those standards. And I think growth. Our district is just growing exponentially. There's houses going up everywhere. The demographics are changing. And so I think just continuing to plan for the present and the future are super important.
Thank you.
Okay, approximately 70% of the residents living within District 834 boundaries do not have children in Stillwater Area Public Schools. What are some of the ways you feel the district could engage them?
So, as I already said, I think that community is so important, and I think that really that outreach to our community is important. So, if there's ways that the board specifically could get more word out and engage them, I think that would be just really awesome. I love the social media is so helpful, and just even I love reading the posts on like Nextdoor and Facebook. They've really helped me feel more engaged with the district already. I think, though, there's a lot of people who are not necessarily on social media, so I think just getting people into our buildings. So getting the word out about what we're doing, getting the word out for people to be invited into, say, concerts or activities or athletic events is just so important. And I think, if you live in the Stillwater School District, it doesn't matter if you're a student or a parent or you're one of these 70% who don't have children in the district, you are a Stillwater pony. So I think just like spreading that pony pride and helping people know and understand that they are a pony will really help with that community engagement as well. People want to be a part of something.
Thank you.
Hi. Okay, question 4. What should Stillwater schools do to better prepare students to be citizens?
All right, so I was thinking about it, and it's just like, in a way it's specific, but in a way it's kind of abstract, so I don't want to sound like too idealistic. But I mean, first of all, I just am extremely passionate about an inclusive and a welcoming environment for students to learn in, because I think if you don't feel included, you don't feel welcome, and you don't feel part of something, you're not going to be a productive or an effective or a successful citizen, because you feel on the outside, right? So I think just that welcoming environment is so important. I think it's really important to instill in every child the belief and the knowledge that they can be anything that they want to be, that nothing is going to hold them back unless they let it. So just really building that confidence, because it takes confidence to be an effective citizen. And I think leading by example, all the way from our teachers to the principals, everybody in the building, all the way up to the admin and the boards, just leading by example and what that looks like to be a successful citizen.
All right, I think I have question number 5. So tell us about a time when you had to support a decision you disagreed with. How did you handle it, and what was the result?
So the first thing I thought of is co-parenting young children on a daily basis. If anybody has been there, there's a lot of decisions my husband and I don't agree on, but we need to be parents together. And then also in my work, I'm a part of a team that helps with our advanced training program. And so all of the new employees that come in, we have a year-long apprenticeship program. And so I work really closely on this tight-knit team to ensure their success in the company and in their career. And so there's a lot of times, there's 5 of us, and we don't always agree on what our decisions are, but once we've come to a decision, we all have to be a united front and show up in agreement on a decision. And so the result of that is that we do have a united front. We have a strong united team with mutual respect for each other and the respect of those who we lead, and any other kind of conversations around it, we just keep behind closed doors.
Okay, it's back to me. Number 6, what attributes are essential for a successful school board director?
All right, I think to be a successful school board director, you need to be strategic. You need to be open-minded and have strong communication skills, be a good listener. I think that you need to have commitment, be committed to this job, because I know that it is a lot and it's a big responsibility. I think the ability to make difficult decisions and separate your own maybe personal beliefs, or maybe for me, what would my decision be personally if it was just like me and my own family, but this is a collective group that we're governing. So being able to make those difficult decisions, and then governing by policy and kind of understanding that we have the policies, we have a vision, and that's what our focus is to roll that out.
Thank you.
All right, number 7. What is really great about Stillwater Area Public Schools, and what are the areas that need improvement?
So what I think is really great about Stillwater Public Schools is the sense of community that we have. So just kind of like I was saying before, getting more people into that. I mean, I love meeting new people in our schools, and as my kids grow, developing these new relationships. I love the smiles on my kids' faces when they come home from school, and I just know that they've had a really great day here. I think the opportunities, there's so many more opportunities here in the Stillwater district than there are in many of the surrounding districts. And so the great programs that we have offered, and I think our teachers, I think we have really special teachers, and I've seen through my niece and nephew who are now in high school, and just through my own young children, that the teachers really care about these students and about really helping them to grow and be able to do the best that they can do. And then maybe areas that need improvement, I'd just say are buildings and technology, which I know we're working on. As a Lake Elmo mom.
Okay, this is the final question. Please provide a closing statement why you should be appointed to the vacant seat on the school board of Stillwater Area Public Schools.
So I've given much thought and consideration to this position and the great responsibility that I would be taking on, the important and sometimes difficult decisions that must be made to keep and elevate and establish our educational standards within our district will affect the future of our students and ultimately our entire community. I'm proud of our district. I care about our students and I care about their future, and I trust the democratic process of the school board. I have the talents and the abilities to fill this role, and as a parent of young children, I have a vested interest in this district and a strong desire to be involved on a deeper level, and it would truly be my honor to be able to serve on this board with you all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Kelly, for coming in. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so unless we want to have some discussion, I think is there any desire to have any discussion right now?
I was just gonna say, maybe we wanna clarify for the community that the length of the term and then the process for voting.
Right, this appointment would serve until the next opportunity to have an election, which would be next year in November of 2022. By the time this person is appointed, it's probably going to be November, Joan, is that correct? Possibly even late November, because we have to go through this process. And then that person would serve for essentially a year. So at any rate, yes, we just appreciate everyone coming in tonight, and we will make a decision. We have it on our agenda under action items on Thursday in 2 days to make a decision on this. So we will think about it and take action then on Thursday. And so with that, this meeting's adjourned. Thank you.